Okay, well, welcome again to our Wednesday. Temperature-wise, we're, with humidity, we're about 40 degrees Celsius, just in case anybody wasn't aware of that. But I thought, it's a lovely time to have a pool if you have one, or air conditioning is a must. But great weather, and so let's sort of catch up with what's been going on in the marketplace the last week. Anybody have any situations, any scenarios? Uh, Running into multiple offers. What do we got going on? And if you want to unmute yourself, you can. I just thought before I get into the stats and let you know what I'm seeing going on there, if there's anything happening, then you can share that. I can certainly let you know I've been out looking at showing houses in the Hamilton area, and everything is holding off, waiting for offers, and prices there have probably gone up by about $60,000 to $80,000 in less than a year. So it's a little crazy there right now. But I did go through the stats just in case anybody was, I don't know if anybody's looked at the stats, but interestingly enough, last few weeks as we were going through, we were talking about where June was going to be. And in the beginning of June, when we first looked at, we went week by week by week, and each week was stronger than the previous week. And comparably to the same time last year, we definitely saw the trend where the marketplace of this June was going to be really close. Based on our discussions, we predicted that was going to be really close. Well, June 2020 compared to June 2019 for unit sales was only off by 1.4%. So based on 1.4%, you can certainly see the activity is way back to where it was last year. And interestingly enough, despite going through and still being in COVID and to some degree, the pricing compared to this time last year to right now, it's actually up 11.9%, which is huge considering all the predictions of prices were going to fall. How is this going to affect it? And really, we'd all talked about last time was, again, it gets into being supply and demand. It's always real estate's about supply and demand. And what we were noticing, yes, there were less transactions, but there were also less listings happening. So here's a bit of information on that too. Also to let you know, before I get on to the number, from May 2020 until the end of June, prices actually were 9.8% higher at the end of June than they were in May. So that, everyone was talking about and saying, we're seeing prices go up, we're seeing prices go up. Well, there's your stats showing why we've been seeing the pricing go up. And it gets back to, again, supply and demand. Active listings in June 2020 compared to June 2019, there were 28.8% less listings available this year than there were last year. Okay, so what happens with less listings? You get appreciation. Okay, so far in July 2020, the first 7 days of July, we're actually activity-wise, we're off by about 17% compared to the same period last year in unit sales. But that makes sense considering we have 28% less inventory, new listings that came in for the month of June compared to last year. So what that tells me is we're still going to be seeing some appreciation in multiple offers until we start seeing more listings coming on. And that's the only thing that's going to change it, is the amount of listings that we get. So I'm just going to share with you, and try sharing with you my screen of some of the charts So let me just bear with me here while I get in to do this here.
Can I just ask a question?
Yep.
Are those stats, do they relate to the price of homes? Like I can say in Oakville as an example, anything under $1 million gets multiple offers and is going over, well, not anything, but a lot of things. But when you get up into like the $2-3 million price ranges, it's not like that, is it? I don't have anyone in that price break, except I'm working on somebody, and I just wondered, is that across the board when you say 11%, you know?
Well, it is the average, but they do take into consideration all the sales, right? So when you take the
Okay,
average, it's
thank you.
based on all of the sales. So there have been, what we've been seeing is there is activity in the higher end price range again. Whereas in, going through April was more the 400 to 900 range. And then it started, because that was, activity wise, that's where the first time buyers were going like, if I can get into something now, that's what they were doing. But during the month of June, there were definitely sales in the higher range, and there's activity in the higher range. Okay. Hopefully that helps you. Let me just share some of the charts, because what's interesting about these charts is they also take into consideration the last few years. So let's just have a, okay. So can everybody okay? Can you see the screen? Can you see the charts? I just need anybody to say yes so I can make sure you got them.
Yes.
All right.
I can see it.
Okay, good. All right. So basically what you've got is, if you look at this, and this is what I was finding interesting, is this particular one is basically talking about the sales, and that's what we've been monitoring. But if you actually look at the chart, what I really liked about it was it's showing the last 3 years comparison compared to where we were at. So if you look at, that strong market of sort of 2017, which you can see is very strong. But then if you look at the 2020 range, like January, February, March, we were like heading for records, again, really, if you took out 2017, how strong the marketplace was. And then obviously April, when, the true COVID hit. And then if you look at May, it started coming back as we were realizing. And then June, again, we're only off, by a very small margin. So it really shows that, how strong the market still is, even if you look at 2018 and 2019. And then again, this is where we were talking about the issue of new listings, right? So it's all about the inventory, and the inventory right now, yeah, it's come back a bit, but it's still not strong compared to where the number of listings. We have more listings, we have way more transactions for sure, because we could certainly absorb it. And then sales to new listing ratio, again, look how strong June is. And even if you looked at May, even going through just the reopening of the market of our industry, still strong with the sales to new listing ratio, but very super balanced. And we just, again, more listings, we're going to see more units, and hopefully if we actually get more listings, we might see a little bit of a balancing out. But I still think there's pent-up demand, lots of buyers, so I still see appreciation over the next little bit. And then look at the average resale home price. And for me, these are great charts to show people, like if you've got people that are thinking of listing or are hesitant, I'd be sending them these charts and saying, look how strong we are right now. So this is a prime time to get your place on the market. And especially because if they're talking about in the next wave, possibly being in late October, November, December, these would be great charts to send to clients and say, you know what, this is a good reason for us to proceed now because of how strong it is. There's limited listings, and you know, there's strong buyers out there right now ready to buy. So just, you know, really, you know, if you want to use these charts, I will send these out as an attachment to the recording, but I just thought I would share that with everybody just so that you can understand that the marketplace, you have tools here that you can use to really give information to your database. So use these charts, but a great way to explain it to them right now. Anybody that's hesitant about listing, waiting to see what's going to happen, based on these charts, I would say this is the right time. And if you look at it and say, if it does, again, if it does happen that we have the, you know, they're talking about a second wave, possibly shutting things down, then you've got to get that momentum all back again. So I would say over the next, you know, 60, 90 days, prime time, probably towards November, December, January, going to be a little bit of issues, absolutely. And then it's probably going to take another 60, 90 days after that to start getting a little bit of momentum. And right now, we've got the pent-up demand. So if you've got anybody that's thinking about selling, I would use those charts and just say, look, here's where you're at. So any thoughts, comments on any of that? You guys are all pretty quiet today. Heat stroke? You guys okay?
I had a discussion this morning with a client who just moved into their house this week, and they're still looking at the market and looking at how well they did, and they realized had they not acted in that particular area, which was the east end of Toronto, they would have been priced out of the house that they're sitting in today.
Yeah. Good. That's super. The other thing just to keep in mind, off a different topic, but I want to bring you up to speed on, short-term rentals, Airbnbs, things like that. And there are some different companies that, you know, have short-term rentals. There's companies that buy furnished places for short-term executive rental kind of things. There was a challenge for the bylaw that the Toronto was bringing in. The appeal got turned down, so do be aware that there is a new bylaw. They're just going to be, it has been passed. They just have to write the regulatory information on it in regards to short-term rentals. So if you have anybody that has a short-term rental that, you know, is, you know, using it as an Airbnb, for instance, there's new legislation in the Toronto area that they have to abide by, basically saying it can't be done. So just be aware of that. And if you have anybody, might be a good time for them to sell. Okay. The other thing, how is everybody doing with the booking of appointments? I need to get some feedback from everybody on what you're finding different companies are doing. For instance, I've got some of them that are used, you know, you got to sign online. I got other ones that say you have to fill in the form. But I've been chatting with a couple, I've called a couple of different answering services that are out there that I know different companies use, and as well as the one that we use. I just wanted to get a handle on sort of what the norm is out there. I think you're going to start seeing, as we move out of this a little bit more, that the signing of the forms is probably going to diminish a little bit. And I'm certainly going to look at, with your input, rather than doing the signed forms, I'd rather just do one form that is a best practices form that they don't have to sign. It does, you know, there is a disclaimer on there, says that they, you know, they're aware that there's possibility that if they're going in to look at properties, they could contract it. But it's more of a best practices sheet. The reason I wanted to ask everybody is because how are your clients feeling about, one, being on the listing side, and when you're working with your buyers going through?
Well, if you don't mind, I spent probably 45 minutes this morning just doing, some companies are handling it better than others, but I've noticed a shift in how they're doing it now. So the companies that are allowing me as an agent ask the questions to the client, that's the easiest, because you get your appointment thing, you click on it, you sign it on your phone, and then it says in the phone you should be keeping either a record of your appointments and who's going in and that you've asked the forms, or actually 2 of them today, and one was Forest Hill and one was Chestnut Park, I think. And they gave you a form for your clients to sign that has like name, address, and phone number, but they don't expect you to share that with them. They expect you to get it signed, dated, and keep it in your own file, which I'm a whole lot better with. And I can do that through Authentisign too. So that's the change I've seen, is they're using a 2-part form. I think a lot of people got complaints that they were disclosing names of their clients and their addresses and contact number. I never sent those names in. I always put initials and asked them not, just to initial the form if they needed the form to be sent in, because I didn't think it was any of their business who I was bringing.
I showed 5 properties on the weekend, and all 5 of them, as I booked confirmation, I will send an email, and all I had to do is hit submit, and then the signature shows up, and it goes submit, and that's the end of the signing. All 5 of them were the same. 4 of them were Broker Bay, and the other one was a different company, but very similar thing.
Yeah, and I understand Schedule Lock does something like that too. But
I think that's what it was, Schedule Lock.
Well, we have Schedule Lock, but Broker Bay does it. But I think there's different levels.
Yeah,
I'm reading about this recently.
I've been showing out-of-town properties, and none of it has come with any kind of Authentisign on it.
okay.
So just go in?
No, you get the document, but you need to sign it and scan it and send it back. None of it has given me the option for any kind of Authentisign whatsoever.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's a bit of a time taker, isn't it?
So
I'm wondering if I'm just wondering if I can find on here that email that has it. Maybe I can, though I wouldn't have a clue how to share my screen with you, but give me a second here. Let me see if I can find it. You guys keep talking. I'll see if I can find it.
yeah, and the reason I'm bringing it up is my understanding is that Royal LePage Corporate is actually going to get away from having people sign the documents and just send a best practices form. And I actually got the form, and it's actually quite simple. And all it is that if someone's booking an appointment, even if they do it online, it basically will do the appointment, but it'll send them this best practices form that does not need to be signed.
Yeah, I saw that once.
Yeah.
With one of my showings.
Yeah, and my understanding is Royal LePage Corporate across Canada, this is what they're looking at doing very, very soon. So I basically, hey, I'm a big believer, man. Why reinvent the wheel? So I have that document. It has our Realty Executives logo on it now, and I'm going to probably look at implementing that probably early next week for our own listings, as long as you guys are comfortable with it doing that way, and understand that the only reason that these forms were really brought in was brokerage liability. It's basically, that's what it was for. So, and I'm quite happy as the broker basically to say on there, it states that people, there's a possibility if you're looking at properties or you're out in the general public, you could contract it, but they just can't come back on us in any way. So, and that's, and I'm pretty
for
sure.
your sellers, don't you think it gives for your sellers, don't you think it gives them a level of confidence that the people coming in are, I mean, doesn't mean that they're going to sign the stuff truthfully, but would it be up to your sellers to decide how much protection they want with respect to a listing, whether it's just a best practices or a form to be signed? Would
Well-
they have the option, I guess, is what I'm asking?
Yeah, no, so what happens is the form itself, a lot of the forms that are out there don't stipulate exactly that you must wear gloves, you must wear, it's more the health questions. Where I'm seeing with showings where they want or how they want you to present yourself, either with mask and gloves, is in when you get your confirmation. And right now today, you can do that right in Schedule Lock, and that's what a lot of the agents have done, is in their confirmation where it gets sent out, it stipulates that, yeah, you know what, the seller requests you must wear gloves, you must wear masks, and other ones don't. So you can still do that. Whatever your individual owners want, or your listing people want, you can do it as an individual basis, absolutely. But I'm just saying that what I'm finding is there seems to be a shift. There seems to be a bit of a shift away from the fact that, you know, there was some of the brokerages, when you went to show, they had like 3 or 4 pages of stuff that you had to sign. And that has now since changed. But as an individual, Carol, absolutely. Individual owners, if they want specific instructions, then you just put that right in the instructions in Schedule Lock, and that's exactly how the cooperating brokerages would have to react.
I did 3 pages 3 times today for 3
Yeah.
different showings. Mhm.
Yeah. And it, so anyway, I just thought I just wanted to ask and see what's going on, because I am hearing there's going to be a bit of a shift to less onerous forms, and more the fact that it's going to be more disclaimers than it is answering the questions. And one of the issues is on that Broker Bay one, or, you know, even showing time or whatever, you as the agent, when you're signing, saying you ask your buyers all these questions, you better hope you put down exactly, you know, what time you spoke with them, how you did it, and all that. Because in all fairness, I'm going to suggest that the majority of the agents out there are just signing.
For sure.
Right? They're just, yeah, I talked with them. So, and so from that point of view, I think this is where, as long as there's disclaimers in there and the best practices, as the broker, I'm okay with that. So might make everybody's life a little easier.
I saw on one of the realtor sites this morning that somebody got Health Canada called them because they showed a property that somebody was exposed to COVID, and she had to go into isolation, get tested, and then she had 36 hours before the test came back negative.
Yeah.
But that's how they
Yeah, that would have been for anybody showing, right?
traced her down.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So now moving forward, where's the market going to be in 60 days? What's your gut's telling you?
I think it's not going to be as strong as it is now.
Okay.
I think we're out of scare bubble of all those ones who wanted to get into the market and didn't, and now feel, oh shit, I better jump on these while I can, and then a whole bunch did it at once.
I just did an update to my website on the June results, and I was pretty open on what's going forward. I think there's too many moving pieces, and you know, Morneau's coming out with our debt today, and I think it's really dependent on how the government walks out of all of this funding that they've given people, and hopefully there aren't so many people and businesses falling off a cliff that it's going to have a big effect
Mm-hmm.
on the market. I'm not sure that the people that are paid for their mortgage and that's why they're buying and selling properties, but I'm sure there's a segment of the market that's out, right? So there could be some softening in the fall, maybe September, October. And if there's another bad wave, then I think you'll see it then.
Yeah, and I would agree with all that. And the other topic that hasn't been discussed is there's still some uncertainty when school goes back. How is that all going to roll out, right? So right now we've had some pent up demand with the spring market people that were looking to buy, didn't, and then now they've come out of it and money's cheap, so they're buying. But I believe, my gut tells me that as we get closer to September-ish and towards the end of August, the focus from that is going to focus back on, okay, now how are we going to handle all the schooling again? How are we going to handle all the kids' activities? How is that going to be done? And there might just be a little bit of a shift off of the real estate, just enough so everybody can sort of get back on balance and figure out where that's going to happen. So I'm thinking we're going to see a little bit of a pullback in just the activity level and interest from consumers the closer we get to that September time. I think it'll be a short window, but I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, on the school side, they have no idea what school is going to look like in September. Having a wife who's a school teacher, I get into a little bit of stuff, but there's talk that they possibly could have half the kids go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday they clean the school, next half go Thursday, Friday, and then they reverse it the next week. There's talk of half days cleaning at lunch, which kids can intermingle from classrooms. There's so many stories going on, but they have no idea what they're really doing. But there's a lot of talk what could happen.
Yeah, and that's why I think right now the market is so strong, because there was focus on, during COVID, but now everybody's like, okay, let's buy something now. And I am seeing closing dates, some quick closing dates. A lot of the closing dates I'm seeing are before the end of August. Very few of I see go beyond that right now. So that just tells me families and buyers are trying to get everything figured out now, and with a little bit of uncertainty in the fall. But overall, still going to be the overall, if we keep going for the next 60 days and we see some pace, there's still a good market there, and there will be in the fall as well. But I just think right now the amount of multiple offers and then the pricing that I'm seeing in certain areas, especially outside the GTA, it is giving me it cannot be sustained that way. It just, I don't see it being able to sustain for 60, 90 days. So that's sort of my thought. That's where I'm sort of seeing. So I don't know if that helps or not, but gives you my sort of gut feeling. So.
Well, it's not going to help us in the short term, but I was talking today with someone who owns a forming company, and he said that obviously things were very slow. The builders were slowing down on launches, and he thought that he would only be busy till late summer, but a lot of the builders are ramping up and doing opening up offices, and the houses are selling like crazy. So until those people's houses are built, the first people aren't going to, like the current owners aren't going to put their houses on the market, but it doesn't look as scary as what I had anticipated in terms of going forward. Okay. Not in 60-day blocks, but just in general.
Yeah. No, and I've talked to different builders, and they are ramping up for activity, and they're seeing the activity. So what else is going on out there? That's sort of my agenda that I had for this week. Any other thoughts, questions, insight? All righty. Well, it is still busy out there. Obviously, normally we have a few more people on them, but everybody's got different things going on, which is great. I talked to Angie this morning, and she says there's new deals coming in, which is good to see, and we're seeing good steady activity. So definitely keep in touch with your people, reach out to them, let them know what's going on, and we'll chat with everybody, if not before next Wednesday. And I'm going to leave you with one little note. I met with the principal owner of Fran Development yesterday and had a good conversation about what's happening at Mississauga Road and the Lake Shore with all the condos that they have. And I'm going to fill you in on that next week.
Yay.
All right. So
Sounds good.
very interesting stuff that they're doing there. And it was great to do a small little meeting, only 4 of us, and really good insight from them, and possibly the opportunity where I'll be able to have some units available before they go to the public. So, all right. Well, enjoy this beautiful weather, and we will catch up with everybody, if not next Wednesday. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.